All right, so I guess we can begin. Okay. First of all, thank you guys for being here and for taking your time on the weekend to learn about the metaverse. So let's begin. If this can work. Yes, it does. Okay. So a little bit about me, just like a quick thing. I am a backend software engineer, and right now I'm experimenting with VR, AR, and mixed reality. If you've seen this anywhere, that just means extended reality, which is the big umbrella where VR, augmented reality, and whatnot would come underneath, which we will talk about in a second. Now, I am also the founder of Metavero, and that is a community here in the Middle East where we learn and build applications within the metaverse together. So if you're interested in that, please join us. I'll put up a link at the very end, but we are found on Instagram, LinkedIn, and on WhatsApp. You'll know about that. So first of all, I'd like to thank the sponsors of this event, or the people who have supported us, which is Coders HQ, which has provided us with the space and the organization of everything, and Microsoft, who have provided us with the HoloLens too, which is very exciting. We will experience that at the very end. Now, the agenda for today is to learn about what is the metaverse, and apologies for that, I forgot to change the agenda. We're going to learn about the metaverse and then the tools that you can use to begin building within the metaverse. So first things first, what is the metaverse? You hear about all these terms in terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum, so that's like cryptocurrency part of it. And then you hear about the avatars, and then about how you have buildings and real estate within the metaverse. So what is the metaverse? Now, one way to describe what the metaverse is, I'm not sure if I can turn this thing on like this. Okay, where it is a virtual experience. It is an interconnected virtual world where you can see the virtual objects in real life and imagine or feel that they are there with you in real life, even though they are virtual. So over here, you can see this person just hopped on a meeting, and they can see the same virtual object, both of them, and they can interact with it as well. As you can see, they can see each other. Now, normally within the metaverse right now, you would be creating an avatar. So creating a picture of yourself or creating a different kind of avatar, not necessarily one that looks like a human being. And then you have the concept of NFTs. So over here, NFTs, like you have a hat and whatnot. NFTs refer to kind of like the assets that you have, but within the virtual world. Okay, so like you have here in the real world, I have this as an asset. I have my hat, I have my clothes and whatnot. And I could also have my home, right? All of these things are considered in the metaverse, in the virtual world that we're talking about, as the NFT, right? Now, here in the real world, if you want to buy those assets, you would need money, right? So those money in the metaverse, what are they called? Crypto. There we go. So that's where everything kind of aligns together. So we're more or less having the real world, I'd say, more or less replicate it into the virtual world. But the interesting thing about mixed reality, which we'll be talking about in a sec, is that you can really feel that that virtual objects that you have spawned into the real world act more or less kind of like they are real in the room, right? And most importantly, the metaverse lives on the internet, and that is a thing, right? So the metaverse is a term that is often associated with emerging technologies such as VR, augmented reality, and mixed reality. Now, these are the specific topics I would say that we will be talking about today, but do note that in terms of like blockchain and crypto and whatnot, that is also under the metaverse. But our main focus for today would be specifically VR, AR, and mixed reality. And I have mentioned this previously. Any of those terms is equal to XR. So if you see ahead in these slides, XR, that just is the big term. Underneath it is all of these. Okay, cool. Now, what is the virtual reality? Let's begin by defining that so we can define what mixed reality exactly is. So virtual reality is when it's basically a completely 3D computerized world, okay? A completely virtual 3D computerized world. And as you can see over here, you can go into that world using the headset. You saw the PlayStation XR, the Meta Quest. As you saw there, they are in the real world. They put on the headset and now they see a completely different world and they're interacting with it, right? So that is what VR is. You see nothing from the real world and everything that you see is literally just virtual 3D computerized objects, okay? 3D generated objects. Now, what is augmented reality? Augmented reality is when you see that virtual object into the real world. So you will be seeing both of these things, right? The real world as well as the virtual world. You are basically augmenting that virtual object into the real world, and that's what augmented reality means. Now, an example for that is a very famous one, which will appear in a sec. But over here, you see that this man is driving in the parking way, and you can see information that's being augmented into the real world. Another famous app is obviously the Pokemon Go app. It was like very famous back then and all of the rage. And as you can see over here, this is a furniture application where again you are spawning virtual objects onto the real world and attracting with it as well. Okay, so that is the augmented reality. Now we go on to mixed reality. Mixed reality basically lies between augmented reality and the virtual reality. It has components within virtual reality and augmented reality, but then, okay, that was not intended. Right. So, but then would you say that mixed reality is augmented reality? No, not really. But then what would be the difference? Now, augmented reality, again, as we have mentioned, it focuses on augmenting the real world with the digital objects that you have. While mixed reality, it would go beyond that and it would create a fully immersive hybrid environment where you feel that the digital object and the real world can interact with one another. And that's what makes it more immersive. Okay? And we'll see how that can happen. Now, also another aspect that would differentiate augmented reality from mixed reality is the fact that you display 3D objects into the real world as holographic displays. So those are referred to as holograms, right? But it's not just that, it's also you projecting that digital object, that hologram, into the real world without being confined into a space. We'll say that in a sec. And then the third and most important point, which you might have heard about a lot right now, is for it to be spatially aware. What does that mean? That means that those virtual objects, they seamlessly integrate with the space in the real world. They understand. So what makes mixed reality applications more immersive is the fact that it can be spatially aware. It can understand the environment. It can understand that this is a table, this is a chair, this is the floor, and I must have this virtual object here or there, right? And if I move away, it will remain there, right? So that is, it's being spatially aware. Now, this is the hologram being confined into a specific space, right? Now that's not, okay, that video should have played. Okay. Now that's not really as immersive, right? Wouldn't you say? Okay, you are looking at that object and it looks very 3D and it's moving around. It looks like it's there in real life, but it is confined within one space, which doesn't make it very immersive, right? Now, if we move on to the next part. Yeah, I guess I'm having issues with the remote. Okay. You see over here, in this video, a person is moving around things in the real world. She's literally moving it. So doesn't that feel that this virtual object is there in the real world? And here you can see that you have virtual people who have spawned and they can learn together and interact with that virtual object. The same thing happens over here. Okay? And this one again also shows how it mixed reality for it to be more immersive, being spatially aware, because these objects are not going like below the floor, but rather on the floor, and then moving things around. They seem large, they seem small, depending on where you place them within the environment. Now, how can you access the Metaverse? Any idea? Any tools that you guys like to use? It's very simple, as you can access it using your phone, which you have right now, or using your laptop, your tablets, iPads, or the headsets such as the HoloLens 2 or the Meta Quest 2. Because again, we said that the Metaverse lives and lives where? On the internet, right? So any device that accesses the internet, you can access the Metaverse using that. Okay? That's literally, it's as simple as that, right? Now, any doubts or questions you have, Sabor, before we proceed?
But I have a question.
Yes.
So, as you mentioned that Metaverse is accessible from any device,
Yes.
but to experience the immersive environment, you need to be with the gear, right?
So for it to be more immersive, for you to feel that you're actually into that world, you are talking about doing applications within the mixed reality. So doing a mixed reality app. And yes, for it to be more immersive, you would put on the headsets and you would completely feel there, right? You could also put on the VR headset, but that would be a completely virtual world.
Sure.
So it depends on what you're going.
So until we wear that gears to enter into immersive experience, if we don't use the gears, then that Metaverse will also look like a Web 2 applications, right?
It would if you're using your laptop. On the mobile and the tablets, I have seen it being more like interactive. So yes, it would not be as immersive as you wearing the headset, but it would also not be as like dull, I would say, as you being on your laptop and just like doing apps, right? Because I have seen apps where you can move around. Example, the Pokemon Go application, right? So you're moving around the world. Isn't that more interactive than you just being on your laptop, moving your avatar around? So there are different levels of you being immersed into this. You just need to choose the gear, I guess, which makes it more immersive according to your application. Because it wouldn't have been, well, at the time, I don't believe there were like much of powerful headsets, I would say, when Pokemon Go application was there, right? But the Pokemon Go app, it literally did, I guess, a job of it being, moving around into the real world and seeing that virtual objects. So it really depends on on what you want to achieve with your app. What is your use case of that application, right? So not necessarily for you to use all these headsets and gears, right? So it really depends. Any other questions? Yes.
That actually includes having a camera around at least, so it can interact and we can virtually view it, or we can view it through the camera.
view it through the camera. Yes, that's what you have on your phone. So if you are talking in terms of augmented reality and mixed reality, yes, because you would want to see the real world. The application would want to see the real world, and then you are augmenting those into the real world. So yes.
So the question was like, as far as I know, Pokemon Go was AR,
Augmented reality, yes.
but it had a feature where once you are standing in one place, the character will be right in front of you. But if you move from that place away, the character will just stay there. It won't move. Yeah, so it's kind of it's very similar to what you said as it was for mixed reality.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
Why is it not MR and why is it AR then?
That is a very interesting question. Now, what you have seen with the Pokemon Go app is that your interaction with that Pokemon, I would say, that's there in front of you, right, is to use your phone, tap on your phone, and then like throw that ball to basically hold, right? Wouldn't it be more immersive for you to actually see the entire world and you use your hand, not your phone, to actually interact with that object?
Okay.
So yes, it does. Again, I did say that mixed reality, it does use like a lot of aspects of augmented reality, but it makes it more immersive. It has more tools, right? Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, I guess we should move on. Perfect. Now, the question is, how do you start developing for the Metaverse? That's a very interesting one that I had to like research on because I'm into that field and want to learn more. So first things first is you need to understand what the Metaverse is, which you guys have already began to do, right? You now know the difference between VR, AR, and mixed reality. Does anyone want to give a recap of what the Metaverse is? Okay, I guess everything is understood. Moving on. And what are its components? So in that regards, I'm referring to VR, AR, and mixed reality, which we have discussed in details. Now, you would want to also explore what are the existing applications out there. So you understand what you can do within the Metaverse, what features that you already have out there that you can use to build your own app. So again, as we have already spoken, the Pokemon Go app, and you guys have heard of the Centraland. So that is like virtual environments, again, that are there on the Metaverse. It's specifically built on the blockchain, actually, yes. But again, it is part of the Metaverse. And you can put on your headset and move around within the environment. Also, there's a VR chat as well, which kind of is more or less the same idea, but it's not built on the blockchain, as far as I'm aware.
So, do you mean to say that Metaverse environment on Decentraland can be built with the blockchain itself, or can we use any other language?
Any other what?
Applications.
Okay, so in terms of you building applications, you can build on the blockchain and you can build with us.
Blockchain also.
Yeah, so you can do this and you can do that. So again, an example would be for you building on the blockchain. An example would be this, the Centraland example. The other example, not on the blockchain, is AR chat. You guys have ever heard of it, but it's more or less the same experience in that regards, where you have multiple virtual environments, you have multiple avatars you go and you talk to, and then you have multiple different environments, multiple different worlds that you can go to, and then you can interact, with other people as well. And you can, rather than just being on your device, on your laptop, and then moving around the avatar, you can put on the headset and be there in the world, which again makes the experience more fun and I guess more immersive. Another example over here, which is in regards for it being used in more of the educational field rather than the gaming field over there. is you being able to interact with this human skeleton and being able to like move it apart and examine it and whatnot, which we would experience more using the HoloLens later. Now, in this one, that is also an educational case over there, where the professor is presenting a presentation over here, but also he is using 3D objects to explain the idea better over here rather than just this, right? Which makes it more visually appealing, right? And you would understand the idea. But
mixed reality. The last.
This is VR.
Yeah.
VR, because as you can see, everything is virtual. Everything. You don't see anything in the real, right? Yeah. Over here, that would be augmented reality or mixed reality, depending on how immersive the application is. Because you can build augmented reality within the headset, right? And yeah, over there, augmented reality, or in this case, VR, because the background is completely virtualized. And that one would be virtual reality. Got it? Okay, moving on. Now, the second thing is to brainstorm your idea and then choose your platform. Are you going to build that app as an augmented reality app, as a VR, or as mixed reality? And then obviously you'd want to choose your platform. Are you going to be using Android on your phone, the Android phones? Are you gonna be using Apple and iOS on the iPad, or the headset, the Vision Pro, which is so excited. I'm like waiting for it to come out to explore it and see how it does. And then you have the Windows one, which is the HoloLens headset, right? Okay. Hi.
But for the mixed reality, we will also need the headset and stuff for the mixed reality as well, right? It won't only an Android application, because if you are interacting with that.
You can build an application, okay, and then deploy it on your phone, as well as deploy it on the headset as well. But if you want it to be more of an experience, a more immersive mixed reality experience, then you would want the headset. But there is also multiple different aspects of mixed reality that you can use within your phone, which we'll talk about in a second. Okay?
Function.
Yeah.
Can we build an app and put it in web?
Yes, that is one of the things that I'll be talking about. Yeah, so another platform would be to put it on the web, which we'll be talking about the tools in a sec. And yeah, Pokemon Go, again, here's an example. And choosing your tech stack would be the third thing. Now, these are the three most, I guess, famous or most common ones to use when you're building an app, augmented or VR mixed reality. So that would be Unreal Engine. So if you know C++, that would be our engine to basically work with. If you know C# or are willing to learn C#, because C# is much easier than C++, then you can go ahead with Unity. Though beware of the prices, I would say, because recently they kind of changed the pricing. So I guess just look over that and see if that fits you. But then again, if you are just experimenting, then that doesn't really matter. And then you have the Pottery engine. For that one, it uses a language that they made, which is PD script, which, as far as I know, and again, I don't have much experience in that one, but as far as I know, it's like a mixture, or it's kind of as easy as JavaScript and C# kind of combined.
Okay.
If anyone has experience with that, you can go ahead, but that is what I know about it. And whichever of these platforms that you use, you would more or less be, I guess, the type of all trades. We're using these engines that you see over here. Using these engines, you can build whichever app you want in terms of VR, augmented reality, or mixed reality, because you can use these.
Is there only the language difference between these three platforms, or there are
There are performances as well. There are performances as well, which you can hook more into. But in terms of, and also the user experience, it's for a very like beginner level, I would say, it would be much easier for you to go for Unity. I'm not sure again about Codot because I'm not super familiar with that. Unreal, they say, is more of an advanced level because it has a very like high learning curve over there. Okay, but once you actually understand it, once you learn it, it is like powerful. Because again, the language that you are using to program is C++, which is a very like efficient, very performant language out there, right? But again, it's also hard to grasp.
Yes. So actually, I would like to add that in Unreal Engine, there's even a feature where you, if you're a non-programmer, then also you can use it to create applications on it.
Blocks.
Yeah, exactly. Using the blocks.
Yes.
So if you don't
Blocks.
know any kind of programming, you can just try to understand the blocks and create the design of the app or function of the application you're making.
Yeah, and I've seen it somewhere, though I'm not sure. I think Unity kind of has the same thing, but probably not as performant.
Yes, exactly.
For sure.
Higher performance.
Oh, 100%.
It's Unreal Engine, but Unity doesn't provide that great advance. So you have to know at least some basic coding language. So to better understand what exactly the function does. Yeah. Whereas for Unreal Engine, it's fine if you're a non-programmer. Also, you can explore the application with ease.
Yeah, for sure.
I actually use Unreal Engine for VR development.
Yeah.
And she said I'm using the blueprint. It's basically like C++. It's like C++, but it's visual scripting. So
Exactly.
it's easier. Unity does have it. It's called Bolt, but it's nothing compared to it.
100%.
Yeah. And for Unreal Engine, the graphics are much better than that. But the only problem with Unreal Engine for VR is its setup time. It takes a very long time to get the initial setup. We need to install Android Studio and do a lot of stuff for getting it to deploy to the Quest.
Yeah, for sure.
That will take some time, but once you get through that, it's actually very good.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for sharing that. But yeah.
For me, I use both, but
Which ones?
Unity and Unreal.
Unity and Unreal.
Unity, I use it a lot when there is connection between other sets. Like if there is a plugins, it's in this.
The plugins, for sure.
Too much in plugins, which is easy for
Easy,
me.
yeah.
Unreal, yes, the quality, the picture, everything is much better.
Exactly, 100%. So in terms of like actually generating that virtual object in terms of Unreal Engine, the quality of it would be much better. And in terms of it actually appearing, it's quite faster as well. So a lot of like performance, I guess, when it comes to all that. Now, what if you want to begin small? You don't want really to learn about Unity, about Unreal Engine, which if you don't have a programming background might seem very, tough and very scary, right? One of the things that you can use and is out there is Metavero. Now, Metavero, I believe you can use it using different languages. I actually have not experimented with that, but I did see that it has support for C++, Java, and Objective-C. The platform that they do have their own Metavero engine, which you can use, and it would be easier if you are a beginner to use Metavero rather than Unity, but depending on the limitations, Unity would provide you with more features to use because again, it's more powerful, right? Metavero is normally used for augmented reality, and you could also have mixed reality aspects to it. Metavero has an SDK that you can plug in to community as well and use it over there. Now, an example of that I have seen a lot is people having a paper that has printed on a QR code, and a 3D object would appear and you can interact with that as well. So those are the most common use cases that I have seen Metavero being used in. And another example is over here. Now this one is more, I'd say, like spatially aware of this, because it is displaying information about this machine once you become closer to it. So you could use Metavero to do that as well. So could explore that. Now, another thing or another stack that you can use to build on the web would be WebXR and Read.js. So if you already know JavaScript, you can immediately go ahead and program your application using these. Okay, so if you already know JavaScript and you just want to build an app, you want to explore it, you can go ahead and do that. And in terms of JavaScript as a language, it's not really that hard. Like it's not as hard as Heros. Yeah. Now, an example on that has been built using WebXR is over here, the augmented reality basketball application. Okay. And another thing about WebXR, you can have like support over there to use your AR headset if you have it around, or to use to use basically headsets or your web websites. So you remember how we were talking about VR chat, where you can go into the virtual world either using your device, your laptop device, or using the Oculus headset as well, right? So WebXR does support that, and it does allow you to do that. Okay, before that. Now, last things first is if you just want to experience just making something as simple as making a augmented reality Snapchat filter, Instagram filter, you can use Spark AR, that is by Meta, or previously known as Facebook, and you can create all of these Snapchat filters and whatever you want, whether that be for branding or just experimenting with things. So this is a very, like, the most, I'd say, simplest thing to just get your foot into the door to explore how you can build within the metaverse. Okay. Now, you could also go on to exploring like multiple different additional services that you can plug into your application. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about are the mixed reality additional services that Microsoft Azure provides, which is pretty interesting, and it makes building your app much easier and much of a faster process. And we'll see how. So this is an example that they have, or a service that they have, which is called remote rendering, which basically renders high quality interactive 3D virtual objects without compromise, and then streaming it to your device in real time. What does that mean? We did mention how now I'm not sure, I think most of you would have experience of you having a virtual, having a 3D object that you have built on your device, and now you want to render that specific object, and rendering that object takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of performance out of your device as well. So I remember when I was rendering one of the objects that I have done, that my device was literally dying. It was screaming, like the fan was just like. It requires a lot of computational power, right? So what Microsoft Azure Remote Rendering, what it provides you with is basically having that rendering process happen on the cloud rather than on your device. Okay. And it would basically beam down the multiple frames. So one frame at a time. Okay. So all of the rendering happens in the cloud. And then you are basically receiving frames where you can see the digital object. And as you can see, you can also interact with it. You can break it apart. Okay. This is an example. So here you are placing an object. Now it has been sent to the cloud request. And then as you can see, we have a fully rendered 3D object in front of you. Okay. Now, a second service that it provides is called object anchors, and it basically automatically aligns and anchors those 3D. It anchors 3D virtual objects onto real world physical objects, as you can see over here. So here you have a pipe and whatnot. So virtually, it has aligned it to what you see in the real world. Now, another example that Heather explains it. Oh, another thing is that this feature, this service is currently under public review, which means that it is not yet production ready. There should be a video. There we go. So if you have seen those car manuals, for example, rather than just reading it like this and then reading to understand what's going on, and then you go to the car and see what it means, here you put on the headset, you see the manual, and after every single step that you do, as you can see over here, so this is the next step over there, you look at the car and it will basically anchor that object onto the real world, right? So that makes the process in this case of reading a manual much more fun and much easier, I would say, rather than just reading a manual and trying to understand what they mean and where that thing exactly is, right? So that's another use case and another feature. Another tool, oh, okay. So there are a lot of challenges when it comes to mixed reality. One of the challenges is keeping those digital objects locked onto the same physical location over the course of time, right? So I have this object over here. If I leave this object over here and I go outside, okay, now if I'm wearing the headset or if I have my application on the phone or not, if I leave and I come back, I would expect that remote to be over there, right? That is also the case in real life as well, which we take a lot for granted, right? In the mixed reality world, it's challenging. And another challenge in mixed reality is actually you sharing that digital object with the other people in the room. So right now, you guys have seen me put the remote over here and just leave it, right? But how would you show that in the mixed reality applications? How would you let other people see that as well, right? Because you want them to see what you are doing, right? So those are a few challenges in mixed reality, where there is another tool that's provided by Azure, which is spatial anchors. So it helps you to build multi-user spatially aware mixed reality applications by persistently anchoring digital objects to specific locations in the real world. And that persistent device or that persistent virtual objects can also be shared with the people around you as well, right? So those are things that spatial anchors helps you do. As you can see over here, this has been spatially anchored in front of them, and they can all see the same thing and interact with it as well. Now, the fifth and final thing is to develop your application and deploy it to your desired device. After you have chosen the language, after you have chosen the engine and everything, finally you reach the final step, which is, it's easier said than done, that's 100%. But that is the final thing, developing and deploying it to the device that you want. And as we said, you can deploy it to a mobile, whether that be Android, Apple, your laptop, or your headset. Yeah, and that's it for my session today. Do you guys have any questions before we move on to the next session? Yes, tell me.
Okay, so for someone who knows only Python, what can I do?
Someone who knows only Python. Now, Python I have not seen being used in developing application. Now,
Okay.
I'm talking about my experience, right? That's mainly, again, that is my opinion. That's mainly because I think that Python is not that, no, that's 100%. It is not as performant as you have all those the other languages, right? Yeah, it is slow. In comparison to other languages, it is slow. So Python, I see it being used for artificial intelligence and whatnot, which works. It's amazing, okay? But for other things, it is not a language that can handle that computational power and whatnot. So you need these to be, fast.
So C++ and Python.
C++ might be harder for you to get into if you just know the Python language. So you could either go for C# or JavaScript as well. Okay? Java, I think, would be much easier.
When it comes to neural radiance fields, like NERS, if you're aware, like a lot of 3D models are using them for view synthesis. So, like, especially when it comes to creating applications in the metaverse, for example, Sandbox,
Okay, yeah.
they are now reconstructing using NERS. Do you have any understanding of the neural radiance fields, which are basically a reconstruction model of a 3D object, in any sort of
A reconstruction. Now you do have devices basically out there that you can scan that real object, and then that would basically convert that into a 3D.
and you can drag and drop it into whatever you want.
Exactly, and depending on the device that you have, it can either be like an okay-ish 3D model quality, or it can be like a very HD. So there are multiple cameras out there that you can use. If you just want to, I guess, experiment with this idea, you do have a lot of applications on the phone that you can use, but obviously the 3D objects that it would like provide you with or output would not be as HD, as high quality as what a professional camera would do. Yes.
About your question on neural radiance field, neural radiance fields are like the next level to photogrammetry. Photogrammetry, like just normally taking pictures. There's an app I believe called Polycam.
There is some research.
Yeah,
There is an application. There is something called condition.
Do we have any
What they have to
questions within the chat? I forgot to mention that. No? Okay. If anyone has any questions online, please feel free. I think we have someone, Hani, would like to. Hani wants to.
Yeah.
Chat.
We categorize the
Digital twin as mixed reality too. Digital twin can be used, yes. So what a digital twin basically means.
I know because
Oh no, perfect. Go ahead.
I have worked on projects.
Okay.
Digital twins mean that you are taking the object and implement it in the virtual world. Either put it in, also you can mix it, you can use it as mixed reality, you can use it as AR.
Augmented reality, yeah.
One of them is the construction. Suppose you have design, which is done on like a tower. So what we are doing, we are taking it in the VR. We are changing the materials, everything. Like the designer, he can put the VR and enter the room like it's virtual,
Yeah.
like it's reality, and he can check the material, check the finishing, everything, approve it, Then we will take it to construction. We can use AR
Mhm.
because like the AR, one of the things that you are saying anchoring.
Yeah.
One of the solutions that we have, we are using a QR. Suppose like you are in the room, you are taking the QR, and once you are using all the design, how it's gonna be implemented, and what is implemented, and what is not implemented, and you can update it.
Exactly.
And after that, last is we are taking it to the BMS and connected to the building management suite where you can control it,
Mhm.
like turn on the light, turn off the light on the 3D models.
Yeah.
And I believe there is also one application that's called here, and I believe Dubai finished it. It's called Dubai Twin Digital. I believe they finished it last year.
Yeah.
Where they have all the buildings relating to scanned in 3D. They're using drones and I believe helicopter, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, thank you very much for sharing that. That's firstly. And yeah, in terms of the digital twin, again, as you have mentioned, is basically you having a twin of the physical object, but virtually as well. So that's basically the idea, and you can use it in whichever application, whether that be augmented or mixed reality. Yeah, that's it for my part. Any other questions we have? And I hope that answers your question, Hani. Yes.
It's about you. I missed the part where you need to introduce yourself. So
Right.
can you just introduce yourself again?
Yeah, sure. No worries. So I am Hama. I am a backend software engineer, and right now I am learning more about VR development as well as augmented reality and mixed reality. So that's basically what I do. I'm a software developer. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Yes. So.
Did you develop any mixed reality applications or participate in projects?
Right. I did participate in oh my God, what did I do? I did participate in a hackathon last year. It was actually like to build your mixed reality application onto the headset, the HoloLens 2 headset. It was happening in Tartex at the time, and I participated, and our team won.
Oh.
I thought that I built a mixed reality app. Now that I know more about it, it would be more of a augmented reality app because it wasn't as immersive. So you have like multiple objects. We basically created a grocery store, I would say. And you would move into that and you would have multiple objects that are flying around. And the idea of the hackathon was how is an application that you can build where you can make people more aware of the nutritional values of the food that they buy before they buy it, as well as the CO2 that specific food that they're choosing is producing onto the real world, right? So our idea, briefly, one part of our idea was, and the application was, you would go into the store, you would wear the headset, you would have multiple objects on the shelves and whatnot. You would hold that object, you can interact with it, expand it and whatnot. You can, as soon as you put it into your shopping cart, you can basically see information about it, whether that be, again, the nutritional value or the CO2 that it produces. Now, if I wanted it to be more mixed reality, I would have actually like had a 3D object anchored onto the shopping parts that I basically had, right? And then as soon as that object goes into it, I would also identify what that object is, and that would basically make it more immersive and more mixed reality experience rather than just an augmented reality, right? So yeah, that's what that was, I would say, like my first experience with this in terms of like mixed reality. But in terms of VR, I do come from a computer science background, so I did have like a lot of game development courses over there. And yeah, pretty much. Any other questions before we proceed on to the next session that we have? Okay, I guess that is it.
Good morning again, everyone. My name is Ahmed Hussain, and today we are gonna build a XR application on PowerApps. Okay, who remembers what is XR? What is XR? Extended reality. Okay. Yeah, perfect. So you guys remember what happened in the last session. Perfect. All right. So myself, Ahmed Hussain. I am the co-founder of Cleveron and the community leader of our platform user group UAE. So imagine, let's say we have an application. So let's say we have an application. So where you mentioned if it's a if it's on a phone, is it a mixed reality or is it everything? So let's say we have a few products. Okay, let's say it's a sofa. Okay, so we can view this in 3D. Yeah. And now if I'm gonna place it in say I place it over here. So would you call this mixed reality or
Yeah.
Yeah.
so over here you can take it anywhere over here and stuff. And similarly, now let's say we have a space. Okay, I wanna buy a sofa with some specific dimensions, right? Now I have a few products over here, but I want to see which one would fit in my dimensions. So what I can do is, let's say I have a surface. I start. I put this right here. Okay. And I draw this and the height is it. That's a deviation. Let's say if I submit these.
Based on measurement, they will start sharing the options.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's say we are doing some spatial planning, as in it can be for your home, or it can be for a factory or something where you want to place some equipment, right? So now I have the measurements, the area, or you can say if you want a volume specifically, that you can do that as well. Now based on that, I will have some. I think I don't have anything within that, but okay, I have this. Okay.
App you are using right now.
Sorry, this is PowerApps. Okay, we are just coming. We are just coming with that. So now it has been filtered based on the dimensions which I provided. Now it's only going to provide those objects which are part of this part of my dimensions. Okay. So now who are the software engineers in this? So how long do you think you would take to build this kind of app? Just as a very rough. Couple of weeks. Okay. Sorry.
2 months.
Okay. Any other guess? In weeks.
Yeah, weeks.
Any random guesses if we can?
Yeah.
If it's drag and drop model kind of things, then it will take hardly 1 hour maximum.
Exactly. So this app, which I just showed you, was made in 1.5 hours. Yeah. So this is what PowerApps is. Okay. So again, with any business, we have a lot of challenges. Let's say we have budget constraints, time constraints, and everything. Of course, we have limited resources and stuff, right? And there are people-based processes and whatnot, right? So that's where PowerApps comes into picture. So you have off-the-shelf products, but probably it might not solve all your needs, or probably it's like too expensive. But then you can develop something custom, but that requires like 2 months, 2 weeks, or weeks to build. We don't have that much time. That's where PowerApps come into play, right? So you can build something custom, but you can build it super fast, right? So that's the power of PowerApps. So the whole Power Platform, who's aware about Power Platform mobile? All right, good. So it consists of Power BI, which I think everyone is aware of probably, right? Then Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents, right? First, of course, the Power BI is nothing but a data visualization tool. You can visualize data, make beautiful dashboards, and everything.
Can I ask you to close that button so we can, when we take pictures, we can, or record
Oh, this one.
the other.
Yeah. I think.
No, you just.
Oh, this one. Oh, yes. I just expanded that as well. Can you zoom in? Zoom in? Yeah. And I don't think I can do it from here.
Down left. Down left.
Sorry, oh, from here you think? But it won't. I think it will. I think this is the max that we can get. I'm sorry. Okay. So Power BI, I mean, everyone is prepared.
Go back. Just one slide.
It's okay. It's gonna come back anyway, but it's okay. You can take that. So Power BI is nothing but a data visualization tool. You can make beautiful dashboards and get some data-driven insights, right? Then comes the Power Apps, right? Power Apps, what we just saw. So you can build low-code applications, low-code, no-code, I would say, low-code or no-code applications by just with some drag and drop tools. We have some components and controls available out of the box, including mixed reality. So it's not some additional component or third-party component that is added. Okay. Then there's Power Automate to building autonomous workflows. So let's say, for example, you have some requirement of sending some email notifications when some process is completed, or let's say if an order is placed, send an email notification. Let's say you want to send some reminders to your customers that, let's say something is reaching expiry or something like that sort. Power Automate comes into picture for automating any sort of processes from any data sources, SQL Server, Oracle, SAP, Dataverse, whatever, right? So last is Power Virtual Agents, which is a low-code chatbot development tool. So again, fully drag and drop based, nothing, no coding required really. And the best part is all of these connect well with all of them. Okay, so you can have our Power App connecting to Power Automate to run some workflow based on some action taken on the app, right? Let's say, for example, on the app I did, let's say it's an HR leave request app. So I click a button, submit request. It will trigger another workflow, which will notify my manager for approval, something of that sort, right? And let's say Power Virtual Agents. So let's say you're talking to a chatbot. Some specific scenario came where a chatbot needs to hand off to an agent. It can do that. Or let's say, for example, it was like let's say airline itinerary. I want to know my airline itinerary. So I just asked for this PNR, just email me the itinerary. So it can trigger another workflow that will send the email to the customer, right? Something of that sort. And again, Power BI itself, inside the dashboard, you can have an app or a Power Automate connector. So from, let's say you have a dashboard, shows the data and everything, but in the dashboard itself, you want to trigger some action or some workflow. You can do it within the dashboard itself. So everything connects well with everything. That's the best part of it. And of course, then you have, like I said, the data connectors, you have more than 250 data connectors. So you can connect with any data sources that you name it. And if it's not there out of the box, REST API, with REST API, you can create a custom connector in minutes, right? Then, of course, AI Builder capabilities are available out of the box. So you have text recognition, you have form recognizer, and custom object detection, all of that available out of the box. Then, of course, the Dataverse. Now, in case you're wondering what is Dataverse, it's a managed database by Microsoft. So again, if you with PowerApps, you do not need to worry about I need to patch my SQL Server version or something. It's not it. The infrastructure side is all handled by Microsoft. It has built-in auditing, logging, and backups, and everything is handled by Microsoft. You do not need to worry about the infrastructure. All you need to do is build your data model, build the app. Okay. So again, PowerApps connects with it. a lot of stuff. So you can have IoT and IoT Edge, mixed reality is what we are going to talk about. You have mapping, HoloLens, then AI Builder. You can connect with the cognitive services. And of course, you can also build apps for teams. You can build on portals, you can build connect to APIs and whatnot. But of course, we are going to talk about just PowerApps and mixed reality today, right? So what you can do with the PowerApps in mixed reality. So you can view 3D models and 2D images in the real world. So you can place view objects in 3D, which we just saw, and you can place objects in the real world and everything. And of course, so let's say you need to collect that. Let's say you're an interior designer. You are placing some objects on this one, taking images. So this is how it's gonna look like, right? And then of course, like I mentioned, so if you wanna measure or take the measure of how big is this space, what can I fit in this, you can measure the height, weight, area, volume as well, and then you can do for the spatial plan, right? So let's try to build something. We don't have a lot of time, but that's the power of it, right? So we'll build an app in, let's say, 30 minutes. Okay, but before we start, we need to ensure a few things. So mixed reality feature, we need to enable the mixed reality feature, which is now it is enabled by default, but in some cases that it's not, so you need to do that. And you need an access to a PowerApps environment, so from your work account. So it can only work with a work account, so the organization account. Your personal Microsoft account won't work, right? So either you sign up for a free trial or a developer environment, which gives you access to the PowerApps environment, right?
Are they planning to finish for developers?
Sorry.
What's the plan? Are they planning to open it for developers, or I should have a work?
You should have a work account, but there is something called a developer plan, which is like free, where you can access even premium connectors and all the premium features for free. Yeah. So as a developer, you can experiment and build apps or flows and stuff, right? Then you make sure that you have a mixed reality capable device. So I think most of the devices are capable nowadays, but yeah. So if on an Android device, it needs to have AR core enabled, and on iPhones and most of the newer iPhones, it works well. And the models should be in the GLB form, so it doesn't take any other format as of now. So you need to make sure that your 3D models which you're uploading, they are in the like .glb format, right? And now once we are to set it up, we can to get some sample models from this URL, which is by Microsoft themselves, and then we can upload those models, let's say, to a OneDrive, to our own OneDrive or a SharePoint list, right? And then of course you can create an Excel sheet or a SharePoint list or a Metaverse table, whichever you like. I mean, whichever is gonna be desired for your application. You can just utilize that. Okay. And yeah, so let's build it. So I have our app over here. This is the app which I showed you. So we'll start from the very beginning. So I'll put let's say yeah. PowerApps. PowerApps. So what you see over here is the PowerApps Maker portal. So when you log in with your work account again, so you have to log on to makerpowerapps.com, and you will see all this section. You can go to New App, Canvas app. So what you saw is the Canvas app where you can define where you can have your whole customized UI and everything. But modern apps and photos don't support this just yet, so you need to make sure that it's Canvas app. Now, another thing which I wanted to mention in case someone's new to PowerApps here, so these Canvas apps is only for internal users to the organization. You cannot have it for external users. Let's say you want to give it to your end customers. No, you can't. I'm sorry. You can't.
Not for a commercial use.
Not for a commercial use. It's only for internal, let's say for your internal operations team or your internal sales team. Let's say I'm a sales guy, I'm selling, let's say, sofas or whatever. I can just go and show it on my thing. I cannot give it to my customer to experience it. Yeah. So that's one point which I wanted to mention, because I mean, that's where a lot of people get confused, right? So then.
To make it available in the commercial use, what we can do.
So unfortunately we can't. Unfortunately we can't to the end customers. There's something called Power Pages or Power Apps portals. Those are they are basically the websites, like a low-code website builder, which you can expose to your customers, like and external users. But Canvas apps and model-driven apps, unfortunately, you just can't at this point at the moment. So it is PowerApps is meant to be only for the internal organization users. Yeah. So I will start creating an app. So this is a blank app. Oops, I think I made it a.
Creating a complete blank canvas, right?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you can use it for like B2B businesses in a sense of like you wanting to show them a specific thing, but they would come to you and you would show them the application and how it works and what you're doing in the map. So you can use it in that kind of sense, rather than providing them with the actual link for them to view the app.
Exactly.
Right?
So it's gonna be just the internal organization, which is gonna be showing the application or.
Exactly. But then the application basically belongs to like the
organization.
business or the organization, and obviously if they want to like to any business with another company or whatnot, they would need and they would show it.
Yeah. So let's say exam apps with our apps. So okay, let's start from here. So what did we see in the slides? What are we supposed to have set up first? Memory game. Sorry?
What's the question again?
What are we supposed to have set up before we actually start building?
Okay, make a Microsoft account.
Yeah, okay, that's there.
Yeah.
Okay, we fulfill that requirement.
You must have plan on paper, wireframe.
Not necessarily, but yeah, I mean, if you have that, also, I mean, if you want, I'll just mention that part. Let's have open this one. So if you have, let's say, a wireframe or a Figma already, or even if you have a hand-drawn wireframe, you can actually build an app directly from that. Yeah. So you just scan it, or if you pass a Figma link, it will build the app for you straight out of it. And then the rest, I mean, the logic and everything, yeah, of course, you have to build that. But yeah, at least your UI part is sorted, right? So literally, even a handmade wireframe, it can build an app from that. Yeah, unless you have handwriting like me. So I mean, it's not gonna happen. Yes. So that was one thing. Now again, what were the prerequisites before we start? What were the prerequisites for the app? The models? Sorry? Yes, the models, we need to get the models first, right? So, I mean, if you want, I'll just show you k.ms. So we have quite a few models available from Microsoft themselves. So experimental PC control assets. So you have coffee bag, chair, blah, 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 a lot of them available over here, right? Then we need to, of course, set up.
Can you just share the route? I mean, where it's available.
Yeah, sure. I will do that. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll just probably share this on our chat on our share. I'll just share this on our media chat. You can take it from there, right? And then now, once we have the models, of course, now we need to set up our data, right? So which sofa it is, what type it is, dimensions, all that with the data which we saw. It's done. So, and just to save some time, I have done the setup already, so I'm just gonna use that. But in your actual scenario, either you will set up your Dataverse table or SQL Server table, or your, let's say, SharePoint list. So let's say like the one which I have set up over here. So who are aware about SharePoint, like what is SharePoint, what is SharePoint list, and everything. Any clue? No idea. So SharePoint is nothing but a, like I would say, you can say content management, document management system sort of, which can also hold your like this is called a SharePoint list, right? So it can have all your data and everything. So you can say sort of an Excel sheet on steroids, because it supports attachments also. It can support any metadata as well. So you have content types and whatnot over there. So it's Excel on steroids and on cloud. Okay, so you can have on-premise or on this one, but it's server-based. Okay, so like you see over here, so I have all of this data. So I have a name, image length, prices, dimensions, weight, color, material, height, width, and depth, which is important. Height, width, and depth. Why are we taking that? Why are we taking that? Any idea?
For the filter.
Yeah. Position. Sorry.
Right. In the like, for example, you show that filter, right?
So filtering by dimensions. So when we are taking the dimensions, we need to know the height, width to have that, right? So that's why. So like price per centimeter square, we are not using that anymore. So product category, file type, and I have some attachments over here. So if I see what all the attachments are, those are the actual models. So I took the downloaded the models and uploaded it with my attachment. Now, in a different scenario where you have, let's say, a SQL Server, having it into SQL Server, having the file itself in SQL Server is not really a very good idea, right? So probably you will store it in, let's say, Azure Storage or some OneDrive or something. You'll have a link over there. So, but it has to be along with from the data structure perspective, right? So now we have our the data setup. The models are there. The data is set up. Now we will go into the application and actually, yeah. So as you can see over here, now we have our application open. So there are all these are the ribbon controls where you can add controls, different controls. Let's say in insert tab you can have your input controls, let's say button, blah blah, text input, timer, forms, and everything. You have displays, you have layout, you have galleries. So gallery is nothing but where we can store a list of items. Yeah. So let's say, for example, now in this case, should we use a gallery? Because we need to show a list of items that are available. Should we use a gallery? Okay, let's do it. So we have put this one. So, and you can see there are different properties associated with the gallery, and items property points to a custom gallery sample. Okay, so it's nothing but a collection or an array, you can say, from programming perspective, which is there. Now our data source is a SharePoint list. Okay, so we need to connect to that data first. So on the left, you can see we can connect to the data, and let's say I'll add data and connect to SharePoint. As you can see, there are a lot of other data sources, but right now we are going to focus on SharePoint. I added a connection over here, so it will list all the connections available. List the sites available on SharePoint. Now I will just select the one where I have my data, right? I connect to it, and now if I change it to this one, let's say easy sales, it will start populating the data which I have, right? And now for the image, right now it says the image data source is sample image. Instead of that, we will use this column, the image link. Yeah. So when we use image link, this item dot image link, yeah, it starts showing up everything, right? And right now it says this item dot title is blank because, well, title is actually blank. So we need this one, the name property, right? So we will change this to the name property. Fair enough? Yeah. Okay. So this was our first page. Let's say the home page. Probably we can add something over here which says like, say, I'm just gonna call it something here. Sales or something. XR sales. Okay. And I'm just gonna center it and just text for I'm just gonna refer to this. Okay. Fair enough. So let's say we have this list, and now we will add another screen just to show the model and actually go into the the MR control and show it in real world, right? So what we're gonna do is we are gonna add a new screen. Add a new screen. Okay, and over here now whatever product that we have selected in the previous one, we want to view that in 3D and probably in MR as well. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna quickly add a few labels just to demonstrate that what product is selected. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a event over here to navigate to another screen and pass the data along it. Okay, so let's say for example I'm gonna be like navigate screen 2, and in an ideal scenario you should not have screen 1, screen 2. You should have like home screen, this thing. I'm just gonna do to save some time. And the transition, let's say cover, right? And then you can pass some things. Let's say I have okay. So we will pass the selected item in a property called item, okay, into the next page. So then in the next page we will have the access to this property. So now let's say we, instead of text, we will be like item dot name, and let's say we will add a few more, probably over here. So, and over here, probably we can, what we can do is, let's say price, and then calculated with, sorry, item dot price. And probably the next one we can say dimensions. Calculated with this item dot dimensions. So right now you don't see any values because we have not selected anything in the previous screen. So the next thing what we are going to do is add the 3D model container over here. So you can go to this one. Let's say I'll search for view in 3D, view in 3D object. Yeah. So as you can see here. So right now you see one of the samples from the GitHub, one link which I gave. So let's say, for example, if you want to see something like the curve monitor. See. Yeah. So we see the curve monitor over here. So I can preview this. I can go around. Yeah. Okay. So we can do that, but for our app, we will use the model which we have in the SharePoint list. right? So just to demonstrate, even if you don't have it on your you don't have the file on your own database, you can even access it through a URL and it will just work fine. Yeah. So let's say first attachments. Okay. So, and finally, what we'll do is for this one, we will put it on view MR so that we can enable this object to be placed in the mixed in the reality. Okay. So similarly, we will just copy this and put it over here. So the source, in that view in MR control, the source, the object will be the object the model which we have passed from this object. Okay. So let's say, for example, and I will.
The language that you are typing with.
Sorry.
JavaScript or C#?
So the language, there's no language to be honest over here. This is all like a no code platform. Yeah. So you're just using like something like Excel formula sort of thing. So if you have worked with any Excel formulas like if else statements, like you have something similar over here. So let's say, for example, I'll show you. If you have used if, so you have if logical text, comma true, comma false, like just like that. So the intent of PowerApps is for the business users. But the business users are mostly most competent with Excel. Yeah. So they will have a very similar experience with this, right? So
The Excel formulas will work here.
not all of them, but a lot of them are similar. Like I said, if is there and or not conditions. Some of them, some if all of that is there, and probably some of them which are not there in Excel will be here from the application perspective, from the app development perspective.
Okay. Is there a way to use a language here?
No, as of now, no. But you can have some APIs which are connecting to it. I mean, which are.
We can API to connect to.
Of course. So you can have your own custom APIs connecting to this through a custom connector, or you can. I mean, I don't think we'll call it a language, but HTML. You can have a raw HTML. We don't call it a language, but we can have raw HTML as well. But the power of that is you can have like different encodings and everything, and you can have different styling. So you can use raw CSS as well. So the stylings, let's say I want to put a shadow effect for this element. I want to have like a fixed sizing or a responsive sizing. You can achieve it with CSS. You can add instead of putting any of these labels, I'm going to use a HTML tag. I'm going to HTML control, and then I'm going to style it accordingly. So I mean, we have done that a lot for some of the clients because they had like some complex design which are not available for these control. So HTML does come in handy a lot for that. So you can put CSS and achieve a lot of things. So let's say from the user perspective, let's add one back button as well. So arrow. We'll just literally just. And let's say okay. So let's just quickly test it. Okay. So this is our app. So we have all the applications over here. So you can even test it on different form factors and devices from here itself, right? So let's say if I paste this, so we can view this. If I want to view an MR, it won't open right now because it's on laptop. but yeah. So let's say in a different one, let's say we have this guy. So we can open another item as well. So just a very quick one. So this is how you can do it. Like create a super fast application to view objects in 3D and view objects in mixed reality as well, right? Similarly, if I'll just show you quickly um, from the measure perspective also. So you can have a measure in MR control as well, and over here again, you can provide the items, or you can also define the measurement units, measurement types. You want to measure the area, the volume, or whatever you want to measure, you can provide that. You can provide the unit if it's in centimeters. What you want to measure is in centimeters, meters, or and stuff like that. So all of that can be done in a similar way how we did for VNMR. Right? Any questions till this point?
I have a question. So regarding the point you mentioned regarding Figma, we design all of this using Figma. We don't have to do these parts, right?
So Figma will just give you from the UI perspective, it will give you the application, but the logic, the data source, and everything that still needs to be set.
So just from the design perspective,
so it can probably even create some transitions and stuff for you, but at the end of the day, the data sources and everything which are not available in Figma, right? So you need to set that. The logic, if let's say you have some logic, let's say if we click this button or this option is selected, hide this button or show this thing, all of that will need to be available. So from the design perspective, it will be easier task for that. Any other questions? All good. Any questions online? This is. I think. So, you wanna?
Let's just play the last few slides, and then we can hop on to some homogons.
So online, let's wait if they have any questions. Otherwise, yeah.
What was your name?
Ahmed is there.
So I know this event is sponsored by Microsoft, so we are showing Microsoft product. So I just want to ask, in comparison to Google products and AWS products, how can you compare? Because Google has similar functionalities, and AWS also has similar functionalities as well.
Yeah.
So
Of course. To be honest, I have personally not worked with those, so I cannot really comment on that part. But I'll tell you, one of my clients, they were using Google App Sheet and stuff. They are moving to PowerApps now. So I mean, that says something. But yeah, I personally not used this product, so I cannot really comment on it.
Like specifically, Google App Scripts are free.
Yeah, true. And it is.
And this one's paid. So
Yeah. I agree on that, but I mean, I have not used it personally, so I cannot comment on that. Yeah. So just as a final this thing. So once you are ready, let's say for example your app is ready to ready for your organizational users to use and everything, you can just go ahead and publish, and once you publish, it needs to be shared across the organization. So of course, let's say you have different teams there. So you can have Microsoft 365 user groups or security groups you can share, or you can share with individual users as well. So let's say after publishing, I just left, I went back to the Maker portal, I just went there, I can click on share, and I can just enter the email addresses or the user group names, and that will be done. Right. Another thing, let's say, for example, if you are building an app and you want to move it from your environment to the client's environment or something, you can always export the package export the app package and then import it to another one. Just reconfigure the data sources and it'll be good to go, right? So that is something that can be done as well. Right? Any other questions? Anything? Okay, I think then we are good. Online also, I don't see any questions over here. Cool. So thank you so much, guys. And these, if you want to learn something more on the mixed reality and PowerApps sites, these are things. This is Microsoft Docs link, and actually on this link you will find the same app which I just showed you. You will find a full-blown tutorial for that, so you can build it yourself and see. So you can experiment.
And the slides are there as well.
On slides, not yet. If you want, we can share.
Recorded anyways.
Yeah, the session is recorded. So
Yeah.
we will be posting that on the Power Platform User Group YouTube channel. So
I'll
you can
share it using the Discord that we have. I already have the link on it.
sure.
So I guess let's do that.
So yeah, and finally, if you want for more sessions, for future sessions, you can just follow us on the Power Platform User Group UAE Meetup channel, Eventbrite. If you want, just to join the Telegram and WhatsApp links, basically are available over there. And if you want to connect, you can connect with me on LinkedIn over there. And yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't do it from distance.
All right. I hope you guys learned something new.
So we're basically done with these sessions, but we would love your feedback on what you have learned today and the sessions that you have seen, and would love to know what future sessions you would want us to talk about. So if you can please scan the QR code and provide us with your feedback. Thank you, Sean. Now, this would go to the next slide. It has a mind of its own. Decided not to. Sure. Okay. Think wants me to go here first. Okay. And we would love to have you at the Metavero community. So as you have seen over here, we are two different communities who have came together to provide you with this session over here. On this link, you will see the first link would be to connect with the speakers. So that would be me and Ahmed Azer. So that's for the first link that you see over there. If you would like to connect via LinkedIn, please feel free. And if you have any, again, any apps that you want to talk about, any sessions that you would love to learn more about and whatnot, or you would love to be held, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Or you could also reach out within the community. We are on Discord, Instagram, LinkedIn, and WhatsApp. You will find all of these links in the QR code, and hope to see you in the community. Thank you very much for attending, and soon enough we will be proceeding to the HoloLens experiences. HoloLens in general, and then with on opening an application. So as you can see over here, I can see you guys, right? And if I wanted to open up the menu, it's as simple as just holding my hand like this. And then you see a Windows option appear, right? If I click on that, the menu appears, and there's just the normal menu with Microsoft Store and photos and if I click on all of the applications, then I can proceed to see the applications that I have installed. Okay. There's one that I wanted to show you guys. Okay. So for example, for today, we have the Tayo Digital Heart demo. So we opened up the app. This is again an example on three applications that you can find on the HoloLens. So what does it say? To access your eye tracker, sure. Okay. Adjust for your eyes. Now you will see this menu appear when you do have the headset. Please hit on the cancel button or else it will take more process on basically adjusting the HoloLens to your eyes, which we don't really need to do over here. Now here, as you can see, we have a heart, right? And if we move around and we select each part of the heart, we can learn more about the heart. For example, this one is a pulmonary trunk. This is a right ventricle, exterior, and right. Now there's another feature on this app that is, okay, first of all, let's go with the heart rate. So as you can see, look at the heart, it is beating at a specific rate, right? Now if we hold this and we go down, you'll begin to have the heart rate even slower. So the heartbeats, as you can see, are not as fast, right? So that's one of the things that this app can do. Now another thing is you can either say out loud dissect mode, or you click on a button, and that would basically make this pencil that looks like a pencil, but it's more of like a knife, I would say, where if you hold it and you go into this part, you can see I'm dissecting that heart to see what is basically inside that heart, to learn more about that heart and the interiors of that heart, right? So this is one of the experiences, and you can keep on dissecting the heart further to look at all these things, okay? And then you should be able to reset it, but I believe they didn't fix the reset button yet. But that is totally fine. I'll show you guys how to close the app and then open that application again. So when I provide you the headset, you know how to do that. So if you remember, how do we open up the main menu? Yeah, we open up our hand, and then we should see a Microsoft logo. Okay. Perfect. If we go here, we go to the home, and then we see this tab, application tab. We want to restart the app, so we can just close the app. Now we see nothing. We want to open up the menu again. We go all apps, and then look at where the application is, and then press on it. Now there's another application as well. Where is it? Services. Would anyone want to first-handedly explore what this is? Yeah. You have multiple different surfaces that you can explore. Yes, that you can explore. And again, access microphone, that's fine. Hold up your flat palm to view the menu. But would anyone like to follow the instructions on this app and then see where it will lead on to connect? And we'll be right back. So if you look over here, it would tell you to open up your hand or your palm like this. Do you see multiple menus? Not yet? Okay. Can you close the application and then open it up again? You would be able to do that. Yeah. So if you open up the main menu and then you close the app.
I think it's already closed. I think it's open there.
No, you need to go to the home. You see home? Yeah. And then a tab would be open. I told him to bring a change for I already All right. Where are we at? Is it not working yet? Uh-huh. Go home. And this one, if you see PX at the bottom, can you click on that? That would basically close the application. Now open up your hand again. So open up the menu. Yeah, just hold it like this, and then you do this. That's it. All apps. If you're looking for services at the very bottom. Oh, I guess on top. Sure. And then you click on it. You see those resume or start icon. Okay. Now it's hold up. Well, there we go. So you have a menu over here of multiple different items that you can choose from. So just if you want to choose an item, just with your other hand, just yeah, go and whichever you want. Each item over there has a different experience or a different kind of interactions. So if you look around, you should be able to see, yeah, there we go. So that's a surface over here that you can see. And you can, that specific surface that you see is basically kind of electrocuting the entire thing and playing around with it. Yeah. I'm gonna take a picture of that. That looks so cool. You can experiment with a different surface as well. Just hold up your palm and you should be able to choose a different one. And then a different surface with one. Yeah. See what you can do with that. That kind of looks like coronavirus, but not really. I don't think that coronavirus exists because they made that up. Jesus! Sorry,
You have knowledge data.
What is Apple Vision? Yeah. See the novel here.
Did you?
Not done by and it will be marketed. For the the virtual showrooms for the exhibition.
If anyone else wants to try, please.
I'll leave you should
Okay, you can queue up here.
Thank you.